What's good, Grizzlies Nation, man? It's your boy, Parish Sharkey, beat reporter for the Memphis Grizzlies for Bluff City Media. Back here again with another post-game bounce plus. This week, of course, the Grizzlies had 4 in 1 week, and the one loss was pretty kind of deflating. So if you don't mind, I'm going to get right into it. Of course, the one loss came against the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Grizzlies have won 5 of their last 6 games after losing 4 in a row. So in their last 10, they're now 5-5. As I record this, we're tied with the Houston Rockets and the Denver Nuggets for the 2 seed, but lose the tiebreakers. So currently, the Grizzlies are 4th in that tiebreaker scenario with the 43-25 teams, and are a game ahead of the Lakers, who fell down the 5th after their rough little stretch after LeBron got hurt. So as for the Grizzlies, just starting with the low light, just go ahead and get to it, because really they had more highlights than low lights this week. So the low light is they lost to another elite team. And not only losing, but losing by double digits, right? Down by as many as 25 in that game, down by 20 points in the fourth quarter. They only lost by 9, but it was 20 points, and they were down by 20 with like 4 minutes to go. So the 9-point deficit was really just, put you back at the bench in. They put that back at the bench in because, they just played, right? It's deflating, right? That game was very deflating that Friday night to lose like that. And then that was with Jaren returning. So you had your big 3 intact. Of course, that was his first game back. He missed about 5 games, really 6. That Atlanta game count. It don't count on the actual, box score, but he only played like a minute and 5 seconds in that game. So, of course, he was rusty, but you had your team, and Donovan Mitchell was out. And for them to look like that, that was very deflating, and just kind of puts you back in a scenario where we know the Grizzlies probably are this year, especially with Taylor Jenkins as head coach. And I actually meant to go look for my clip from Starting 5 podcast from a couple years ago, but he just hasn't changed his style, right? And we'll just see how the season ends. Of course, no one is like excited about what's to come, really. But I would say the argument that the Grizzlies want to get out the first round because of that, because of them losing to elite teams, that's a bad argument. I remember talking to a couple folks at the game the other night about that. That's a bad argument. If you want to say, okay, veteran team, like they play Golden State, right? Or they play Luka and LeBron in the first round. Yeah, that's a good argument. But you want to say they lose to elite teams, you want to play Cleveland and Boston anyway. They're in the Eastern Conference. Oklahoma City is the only elite team in the Western Conference right now. You won't see them in the first round, and you will only see them in the second round if you get a 4 seed, which is where they are now. But they can get a 2 or 3 seed, which you avoid them to the Western Conference Finals. But of course, Denver Nuggets champions, LeBron champion, Luka just took a team to the finals. The Golden State champions, and Jimmy Butler has took teams to the finals, right? So you play them, of course, yeah, but they're not elite teams. So it's still the Grizzlies have a shot. Will I pick them Windows series at this current point? Probably not. But they still got time, especially if you get your big 3 healthy at the same time. So I do have a couple of clips. I only really have one clip for you guys on this one because everything else they really get highlights on everything else. But the low light, just a couple of things that the players said after the game, after the loss to Cleveland, just things that stood out and things they know that they need to get better at in those type of games.
I mean, they're good teams. They're on a roll, and we just got to be better defensively in those situations. We can't make excuses about anything. Even if we're not shooting well, we got to be able to guard. So, yeah, credit to them.
I thought tonight we just didn't do enough on the defensive end. Didn't come out with the right mindset. Messed up with some coverages early in the game, and then just allowed them to get too comfortable. Good teams like that get comfortable. It's gonna be a long night.
Yep, and I know I see a lot of people talking about the offense and the offensive system and all this. I see defense, right? And the players said it, right? They said it Friday night, defense. Cleveland had so many open threes. And the first time when they played at Cleveland missed a lot of those threes. That's why that game was close. Now, they did miss them, and the game was close, and it was competitive. They didn't miss them Friday night. So defense was the problem, of course. And I know y'all can have the think pieces about the offense. The Grizzlies always hung their head on defense, and they ain't been doing that since the calendar flipped to 2025. So They get back to it. They did get to it on Saturday against the Miami Heat. They dominated them in that game, and their defense looked good against Miami. Of course, Miami ain't looked good since they traded Jimmy Butler, but compared to how the Grizzlies played against other teams of that caliber just recently in that stretch, you gotta give them credit for that. Because even heck, that same night the Denver Nuggets lost to the Washington Wizards at home. So the Grizzlies don't team doing this stuff. And I also just published an article on Beale Street Bears about like a March Madness type of bracket for the Grizzlies. If NBA was March Madness style. And looking at the records of other teams outside of the elite teams, Boston, OKC, and Cleveland, only the Lakers, I think it was only the Lakers. Only the Lakers had to win the record against teams above 500. Not saying we should feel good as Grizzlies Nation because of that, but they're not the only team who's struggling against the best, right? Teams that are over 500. So it does give you a little solace, especially like a lot of people were mad because they played a close game against Utah, almost lost to Utah. Utah had almost beat Cleveland like a couple games prior to that. They had only lost by 1 point to Cleveland. And then Washington go and beat Denver. So that happens in NBA teams. You're going to take your foot off the gas. It's natural. It's human instinct. Obviously, Saturday, the Grizzlies, after that loss, they weren't taking their foot off the gas. And with Tony Allen's retirement, they wasn't. And that's what I'm going to go to with highlights. Plenty of highlights. Tony Allen, start off with him. What else can I say? If you didn't get a chance to see it, I'm pretty sure the clip you've seen there's plenty of clips out there. His speech, everything, all the people that were there. Paul Pierce's speech almost was really a tearjerker. Derrick Rose, Rudy Gay, Quincy Pondexter, Vince Carter, of course, Zebo and Mark. Mike, unfortunately, couldn't make it due to some weather issues, I guess, in Minnesota to make it down. Also, he had the game sandwich in between. He had the game Friday and Sunday. I know last year he had just made it to Mark's. I think he had flew and got in town probably like an hour prior to the game or something like that. So it's just tough when you're still playing. But he did his video thing, sent the video in. Tony appreciated it. He definitely appreciated it. He saw he was tripping. So, man, good times, great times out there. Man, nice to see some former players. Just keep going down the list. Ed Davis comes to mind. Who else was there? Joakim Noah. He didn't even play with Tony Allen, but just Joakim Noah being there, like the respect he had from his peers, just really, really, really showed. And it all his stories were just fire. So, man, shout out to Tony. I posted plenty of clips online. Unfortunately, didn't get done in time for this video, but of course, go to Bluff City Media's BCM Grizzlies on Twitter and also on my Twitter page. You want to see some stuff. Tony, I got to interview him during the premiere of his documentary, and then also before the game on Saturday night as well. So, man, shout out to Tony, first team all defense. And the Grizzlies stood up to it playing first team defense on Saturday night. So they need to hopefully keep that energy going for the rest of the season. Next up, Jaren Jackson returning was a positive, right? He was listed as week to week. And not only him returning, him playing back-to-back games and scoring like 30. I think he scored 32 on Saturday night. So it gets Bam. So that's always a matchup. They always go at each other. And Jaren got the best of them in this occasion. So shout out to Jaren for rebounding. He struggled some against Cleveland. That was his first game back in a while. Also, against the player he's probably going to lose Defensive Player of the Year to in Evan Mobley. So he rebounded and he played back-to-back. And he said it Friday night when we interviewed him. He was like, how you feeling with the injury and stuff? He's like, I'm playing tomorrow. He straight up said, I'm playing the next day. So there was no ifs, ands, buts about it. He was playing. So shout out to Jaren. He's back. And I think he looks good. And like the ankle is fine. He didn't have no boot on. I remember the game against Utah doing the warm-ups when they do the little in the beginning when they're in the circle and they do the little chopping the feet and they tell them turn. Jaren was one of the people jumping up in the huddle acting like he was dunking on somebody. And I was like, yeah, that ankle fine. I figured when I saw that, I was like, he's probably gonna play against the Cleveland Cavaliers that Friday. So shout out to Jaren. Next up, another highlight, Ja Morant had now. Actually, I am recording this after the injury report and him with the hamstring soreness. I did see, and I thought about that. When he came to the locker room Friday, this is some real insider insights right here. When he came to the locker room Friday, he was limping. So, and I know if he was walking like a little gingerly, like it was just like And I didn't know it was just him just walking. That's just how he walked when he first walked in the locker room. When he walked out, he was walking fine. So I didn't think anything of it. But then seeing the hamstring soreness, they didn't list it. They listed him as shoulder soreness for Saturday, but now switched to hamstring. It makes me think back to that moment. Again, I could be giving too much information, probably telling too much. But that's really what the inside insights I give you on that. But going back to his last 10 games, he had 20 plus points in each of his last 10 games, including the 44 points against Cleveland, and also a couple of 30-point games in there. So Ja Morant seems to be returning to form. Hopefully this injury isn't nothing too serious that keeps him out that much longer. Maybe it's just caution. Hopefully. But yeah, he has returned to form and hopefully he can remain at that. Also, he was incorporating some of the mid-range jumpers in his game against the Cavs as well. There's things we've been asking from. Only attempted 4 threes in that game. Had to attempt like 10 plus threes in all the other games. So yeah, definitely need that Ja Morant for the rest of this season. And the last highlight, the Grizzlies winners of 5 of their last 6. Yeah, it was a bummer I lost to Cleveland, but at the end of the day, the standings matter. Winning those other 5 of the games matter when it boiled down to it. Yeah, it's the play. They are 1-5 against the top 3 teams. They still got chances. They play Boston coming up. Also, they got big matchups coming up. Golden State and Minnesota, the one, a lot of games in a row. And both of them are only 2 games. I think 2 games behind the Lakers now for 5, which means they're only 3 games behind the Grizzlies, Rockets, and Nuggets. So the rest of the conference race is heating up. So they're going to have to still string along some wins, but they also have those teams coming up on the schedule at home. Matter of fact, the next time they return home, they got all 3 of those teams back to back to back. So, yeah, they got some games coming up. They got to play OKC again. They got to play at Denver. So they got some opportunities coming up to kind of right their wrongs of the past, but they're still in good position. Winners of 5 of their last 6 after losing 4 straight. They gotten themselves back off the mat and just hope that they continue going forward, coming into this next set of games, which begins their 5-game road trip. Now we head into my predictions, of course. 5-game road trip coming up at the Sacramento Kings on Monday night, at the Portland Trail Blazers, at the LA Clippers, which I will be at the game because I am traveling to LA this week, at the Utah Jazz, and at the Oklahoma City Thunder. And for this prediction scenario, I'm probably, because I am headed out of town, I won't be doing another one of these videos till likely after the Lakers game. So March the 30th will be the next time I record another one. So I add the game in my predictions. My prediction would be 4-2 in this scenario. Got them beating Sacramento. Portland, I don't trust them to beat the Clippers. And I beat there Friday. I got to see it to believe it. They lost to them twice this season. We'll see. That is a big game. Of these games, I would like to see them win that one. I'm just not going to predict it. So that'll be the L I got. At Utah, I think they got some smoke with Utah. The Cotton Sexton, Ja Morant stuff that happened in the last game. Yeah, I think they're going to come out ready for that one. At OKC, just like the Clippers win, I got to see it to believe it. 0-3 versus them. No games have been even within single digits. And they playing at OKC. I got to see it to believe it. So that's an L until I actually see it with my own 2 eyes. Lakers at home, they tend to get up for the game. They got them at home. LeBron is out right now, but we all know, like he likes to do, he will probably return, and that'll probably be his first game back, knowing him. He always returns against the Grizzlies. But getting them at home, I'm going to give the Grizzlies the edge. They're going to have to, that's when they begin their stretch against the Lakers, Boston, and Golden State. They can't go 0-3 in that stretch. So I'm going to give them that win, and then I give you my predictions after these 6 games for that next stretch after that one. But that's all I got for y'all, Grizz Nation, for this week's weekly recap for post game bounce plus. Again, it's your boy Parish Sharkey, the Grizzlies beat reporter for Bluff City Media, signing off. Until see y'all next time.